everyone, this is Brahmesh. I'm your host Navani Savasingam. It's been 2.5 years since my last episode and a lot has happened since then. So before we get into all of that, I wanted to thank all of you who reached out after my last episode, episode 50, Friends in Fertility. Many of you thanked me for sharing my experiences. Others want to share your own fertility journeys with me, and I'm so grateful for the love and support that I received. After shooting my last episode, Akash and I had our first embryo transfer. If you remember, I did say that we went through multiple sessions, rounds, however you want to call it, of IVF. And during our first one, we were able to get 2 embryos, and that was the only time we were able to get any embryos, both of which were not of great quality. So unfortunately, we weren't able to test the embryos to see their likelihood of viability. But we did have the 2 embryos, and we decided to go forward and do an embryo transfer. Our fertility specialist did recommend that we do both at once, since the likelihood for both of them were low, I guess. But we just didn't want the risk of having multiples. The age that I am, the likelihood was already a little bit higher. So we just didn't want to multiply that. So we decided just to go with the 1 embryo transfer. And this procedure, you're actually awake during it. And that's when I realized that my uterus is L-shaped. So I'm thinking it's the uterus. Even though I've done like so many fertility processes and procedures, and it's been a couple of years of just that, I still don't know the female anatomy as well as I should. That's embarrassing, but it's fact. So I think it's the uterus, and she was having a hard time implanting the embryo because of the shape of my uterus. And now she's telling me this, and I'm thinking, this makes perfect sense. Okay, so it's not just a straight line. You gotta turn. It's a little bit of navigation, driving, a sense of direction. And considering my partner and how he is, I can only assume that his soldiers would be similar, like him. And considering what I brought to the table, and if you're not sure what I'm bringing to the table, go back, listen to episode 50, and it made perfect sense why we were having such a hard time conceiving. So going into the embryo transfer, we were in pretty good spirits. We knew it was a long shot. We were hoping for the best, expecting the worst, and I feel like that's my mentality going into a lot of things, and it works for me. So we knew, like I said, it's a long shot, and we were gonna give it a go and just kind of see what happens. After the embryo transfer, I had to have progesterone injections. Now, progesterone is something that your body already produces when you're pregnant. This is just kind of to aid it along, just to give it that extra oomph. And I don't know if you remember, again, last episode, and I hate that I keep referring to the last episode, but there was a lot there that relates to what I'm talking about here. So there was this huge needle that they gave me, and I thought, because I stopped listening at a point. So I just figured afterwards that this was supposed to go in my butt, and it turned out it didn't. So the big needle was there to take out a little bit of liquid from a big bottle, and then we just undo the big syringe part, or the needle part, and put a smaller one on, and that's what I was supposed to be injecting. But there was a lot of confusion. regarding to that needle. And I'm so glad I did not put that in my butt, just without having to. I was like, who needs that? So the progesterone shots are actually inserted with that big needle. So knowing that, okay, this is meant to go in my butt and I'm putting it in my butt, like, made me feel a little bit better. I mean, my ass is 20 years in the making. It's like I was born for this. Like, I'm ready. Let's go. And it's not just it's not the butt, it's just like a little bit higher because you do need to get through the fat. And those shots are painful. Painful. After the first couple, so every day you're doing this, you're supposed to do it at the same time every day. And within the first couple of days, 3-4 days, I think, or a few days, I thought, like, okay, this isn't so bad. I thought I had worked out, like, okay, this is what I need to do in order to avoid feeling any sort of pain or discomfort after the injections. And it doesn't just go away. Like, the shot itself is painful, and then the pain lasts. And again, if you're doing it every day and they tell you to rotate sides, so that if you do the left side one day, then the right, you just go back and forth. Even if you do that, it's still very, very painful. Very, very, very painful. And I feel like my pain threshold is very high, and it was very hard for me. And I was supposed to do this, I think it was like 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks until I did my pregnancy test to see if the embryo transfer was successful. If the pregnancy test was positive, then I would need to keep taking those shots for additional, I think it was 8 to 10 weeks, just because of my situation. They said 8 to 10, I think it was 10 weeks. 10 weeks I would have to consider, continue doing it every day for that period of time after the successful pregnancy test or positive pregnancy test. So I went in for the pregnancy test, and leading up to it, I felt, I don't know how to describe it. Like, every little thing was making me feel like I was pregnant, like a little bit of nausea, and I'll be like, maybe that's it. Maybe that's like a sign or symptom of the test actually working, or the procedure actually working. But really it's like, I had 3 dinners. Maybe that's why I'm feeling nauseous, or I ate food that was in the fridge for 4 days, maybe that's why I'm nauseous. Like multiple factors for why I was probably feeling that nausea, but every little thing was like, I was just like hypersensitive to anything that I was feeling. So the day of the test, I went in and I took the pregnancy test, and they said, they'll call me later that day. And they did. They called me, and they said that the test was I think a negative positive. So what that means is it's registering as a positive, but it's a very low positive, which means that it most likely 99.999% of the time it is a negative result. But I would have to come in again, redo the test, and in 2-3 days, and then they'll know for sure. So I was like, all right, okay, it is what it is, it's fine. I went in, did the test again, and then they called me later that day, and they're like, yeah, so now it's a negative, as they were expecting, and I should get my period within the next 2 to 3 days. I'm sorry, what? This is not fair. This is not fair. If I can't get pregnant, I shouldn't have to have my period. I shouldn't. It's just not fair. Like, what do you mean? So, not only am I already down, now you're kicking me even further because you're like, oh, you're gonna get your period. Come on. How? Why? Why is that fair? And don't tell me life isn't fair, because seriously, don't want to hear that. Don't want to hear that, but I don't get it. So once we found out that I wasn't pregnant, we decided to take a break from all the fertility stuff. This was, I think, in March. Yeah, it must have been March. And we decided just to, enjoy the summer. We were planning a big trip to Italy. So we're like, let's go to Italy, let's have fun. Then we had a couple weddings that summer too. We're like, we'll just enjoy ourselves, and then maybe we can revisit this in the fall, October, November. We still had one embryo left, and maybe we could give it a try with that embryo. This was our mindset, and I was ready. And again, I think throughout all of this, I've been pretty good at handling whatever came our way. I felt like I was pretty good, but I mean, you would really need to ask Akash to see whether I was or not. But we were good. We were in a good place. And yeah, so we made that decision to just take a break and relax and drink and just have fun. March, I got my period, and then in April, I did not. So my period was late, and just to let you know, my period was never late. It's never late. If anything, it's early. Okay, I don't know, I feel like I'm always on my period. Like, if anything, it was early, and so it being late was a little weird, but then we also just went through this fertility experience and the transfer, and I was like, okay, maybe it's a little bit off, and we need to get back. It needs to regulate itself somehow, get back onto the regular schedule. So that's what I'm thinking. And then the days just kept going, and then I started feeling some symptoms, some soreness. I would wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, stir awake a little bit, and I'll feel just nauseous. And I thought, okay, there's a chance, but I don't want to get excited because of everything that's happened so far. So it was the day before Mother's Day. And wait, does that make sense? Oh no, April I got my period. And I'm missing May. Oh my God. Okay, I don't know. Either way, so May. It was May. Missed my period in May. So yeah, April was when I got I'm talking a lot about periods, I'm really sorry. But April I got my period, which was the period after going through the embryo transfer, and it was a negative. And then May, which is just the next month, I missed it. And then the day before Mother's Day, I bought 2 pregnancy tests because I had a book club meeting that day, and I needed to know, can I drink at this book club meeting or can I not? And I needed to know, because if not, I'm gonna get drunk. It's a book club. We do talk about the book, but come on. So I needed to know, and I took the pregnancy test, and it was positive. And I thought, okay, it's positive. Don't drink, but we'll just see. The next day I took another one. This is Mother's Day morning. It was positive again. So I was like, all right. And now I'm starting to, I don't know, just starting to feel a certain way. And I hadn't told Akash yet at this point. I wanted to go in and get a blood test done before I said anything to him. A couple days later, I went into the clinic and I took a blood test. And they again told me they'll call me later that day, and I was at work, so I went and did this in the morning, very early in the morning before going into work. And while I was at work, I got the call, and right when I answered, I don't know, as soon as I answered, the first thing that went through my mind, and I wasn't even thinking about this the entire time, which is what makes it so weird, but and so odd for me to feel that way. But as soon as I answered, I felt like something else is wrong with me. I'm not really pregnant. Something else is wrong, which is why I'm registering a positive test. There's something else, and that's what they're going to tell me. But I answered, and they're like, congratulations. Your blood test results came back positive. You are pregnant. And I just kind of dropped a little bit. I don't even know. I just kind of folded over. I was so happy. And I don't know. Yeah. Just very happy. I was very happy, and I just felt like everything leading up to that moment, I just felt so grateful, because not everyone gets that call, you know, and I was just so grateful, and I felt like I did this episode, and it must have been all the positive energy everyone was sending my way that made this possible. It had to have something to do with it. Because we've been trying for years, and we just had the embryo transfer that wasn't successful, and then the next month we're pregnant, and they call it a spontaneous pregnancy. There's nothing spontaneous about it. We've been trying like very hard. On December 20th, 2022, our daughter Mega James was born, and I really want to talk all about what this parenthood, this experience, motherhood has been, but we'll save that for a later episode. I just want to thank everyone that's been with me, that's been listening, following along throughout this entire process. Starting this podcast again, it's really for me to kind of find myself. I want to go back to doing some of the things that I put off, I guess, or put to the side, didn't have as a priority. And I want to start those things again because they bring me joy, and I really enjoy doing this initially and throughout the 50 episodes, and I want to continue doing that even longer. So thank you again for following along. Thank you again for listening. And if you have any comments, anything at all, anything you want to share, please, you could DM me, you could email me at thatbrownbish@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you again on another episode. Grateful, thankful, blessed.